Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Scicomm Synapse platform. So, today we have our guest, Dr. Ayelet Baram-Tsabari. She is a professor of science education and communication at the Faculty of Education in Science and Technology, and also Franz Ollendorf Chair at Technion Israel Institute of Technology. She has done her training from Weizmann Institute, and also she has got Marie Curie Fellowship and also pursued her science communication career from Cornell University. And alongside that, she has a considerable experience as a journalist, editor, and TV presenter, which have together shaped her commitment to evidence based practice and research in science communication and education. Dr. Ayelet hosts a science communication show also, which is MOOC on edX, and serves as an editorial board member of Public Understanding of Science and the International Journal of Science Education. She's also an associate editor and editorial board member of Science Communication, and her research program focuses on the relevance of science education to public engagement with science and also she trains scientists for effective science communication. So we are very happy to have you, Dr. Ayelet, and we would like to proceed for Q&A session. Over to there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Satyarth, for the introduction.
Thank you so much for having me.
Every time. So let's start with the today's talk and our today's live interactive podcast. Um, so today our guest will talk about science communication. How can we globally work towards it at the same time, unanimously, and also what can a single person do, and how actually science communication is driven in day-to-day life as well. So to start with the today's podcast, I would like to ask, my first question is that when you were a student, did you always feel confident about science, or did you ever struggle with it like many of us do?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I really loved science as a kid, and I was sure I'm going to be a biologist. And if you would ask me when I was 15, I would tell you, yeah. So I'm going to find a cure for AIDS and a vaccine for cancer. I had all these amazing plans, right? And then I went to university. I started biology, which I really loved, and I found out that I'm horrible at any practical work. So, just like my cooking, I mean, I can't cook even a boiling egg without burning myself or something. So, whenever I get into the lab, it was horrible. It was like a disaster zone. So, it was very apparent for me quite in the beginning that I really love something, but I'm not very good at it. So, I didn't like to do, outside observations. So looking at animals outside, the lab was horrible. I didn't like sitting in front of the computer all day. So it was very apparent that, okay, I have this passion for science, but I was a journalist at the time. So I was, financing myself as a student, as a
Mm-hmm.
editor and a reporter. And I much more enjoyed doing the science communication bit than doing the biology bit. So talking about biology rather than doing the biology. So yeah, I struggled not with the content, but with the practice.
Mm, I see, I see. So it was more about you know how to take it ahead and what you would really start with. I think this itself comes up, pops my head with a second question, is that why do you think many students, like all of us, feel
Mhm.
science is difficult or scary rather, even when they are interested to
Yeah.
pursue the science?
Well, there's many reasons, but let me tell you a story. So many years ago, uh, I was in a panel, with all these people talking about physics education. And the idea of the panel was to tell, perspective, like general public, but also parents and prospective students, how interesting physics is, and they should take physics in high school, and they should take physics in university and so forth. And I was there as a science communicator to give the research bit. But then someone asked, at the panel, someone asked, excuse me, so what should I tell my daughter if she says she doesn't want to study physics? How can I convince her? And at the panel, there was this one amazing, inspiring teacher. And the teacher said, tell her that if she takes physics, she will learn where did we come from, how the universe came to be, what is our place here, what is time, what is space, how the sun makes us live, and so forth. And it was very inspiring. But then someone in the back row said, sorry, I took first, second, and PhD in physics, and then I never learned any of these. So I think the reason so many people are losing connection is because we don't give them the connection. We teach them equations and we teach them facts, but we don't give the overview. We don't give the context of why it's important, why it's inspiring, what it says about us as humans. I think if we do that, things would be easier for many people.
I see. So rather than just going into boring textbooks, I think it's also much more interesting to see the passion inside for the science.
Yep. Yeah. If you can communicate the passion, I think many more students would feel it as well.
I think you really gave a nice story. So you started your career in journalism and also television. So how did that experience change the way how you explain the science today?
Well, I think it affected me very deeply. Of course, first of all, it changed the course of my of my research. Okay, so I became a science communication researcher. But if I put aside the research part, just the practice part, I learned many important things, and maybe I'll share 3 of them shortly. Sure. So when I was working in a TV show, it was called by the very original name Science News. So I was working there, and just in the beginning, when I was just starting, they sent me to interview a Nobel laureate who came to Israel. I think he was a Frenchman, a chemist who got a Nobel Prize, and he came to Israel, and I was supposed to interview him. And I was a student there. I was, I guess, first degree, like undergraduate. So I really wanted to impress him. So I took out his papers, and I tried to understand them, which of course I couldn't, but I tried to understand them, and I came up with all these sophisticated questions to show how smart I am. And then we were sitting, and I started off with this smart, what I thought, I guess it wasn't, but with these like smart and complicated questions about his research. And he looked at me, and he said, maybe we should start a little earlier. Atoms are like building blocks. Oh, wow. With these atoms, we build different buildings. We call these molecules. And I realized a very important thing. Science communication is not about showing how smart I am. Science communication is always about thinking what the audience needs, or the audience is, and start from there. And so that was a very important lesson. Another lesson I learned was I was editing a show, and in the show there were always 2 interviews. Okay, so there were like outside item, and then interview, outside item, and another interview. So the first interview I chose had to do with ancient DNA, and the second interview I chose had something to do with proteins that malfunctioning, and then it caused some kind of disease. Okay. And then I was the deputy, and the editor of the show said, you can't have these 2 interviews, it's on the same topic. I said, it's not the same topic. This is ancient DNA, and this is proteins that cause disease.
Yeah.
And he said,
Mm.
yes, the same topic. So I realized that maybe for people inside biology, this looks
Mm-hmm.
like very different things. But
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
people outside, it looks the same. It's both biology.
Mm.
So I think the second very important lesson there was that what we think is not relevant. Again, what the audience
Mm.
think, how it looks to the audience is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
they don't share the same level of details
I
that the
see.
communicator does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have time for a third lesson, a third
Mm-hmm.
story. So there was this one time that I was sent to, I sent myself to interview this scientist who had a paper published on Science. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting paper, and I interviewed him, and I said, we need to come with the TV crew to film in
Mm-hmm.
the lab. And he said, okay, how much time you need? And I said, we need 4 hours.
Mm.
And he got really annoyed, like 4 hours in his lab. I mean, it's interrupting. And he said,
Yeah.
why do you need 4 hours for a 3-minute item on TV? What
Mm.
takes 4
Mm.
hours to make a 3-minute item? And I
Mm.
said immediately, what took you 4 years to write 3,000 words for Science? I can type it faster. I don't need to. So immediately he laughed and let us do the 4 hours we needed. And I realized that just like journalists don't sometimes understand the science, the scientists don't understand journalism. So
Mm.
both sides need to be more humble, educate
Mm-hmm.
themselves, not
Mm.
assume they know everything.
Mm. Mm. I see. So it's more about, I would rather say it's more about the audience who is perceiving you, and also, you know, uh, a sense of adjustment among the, science communicators, or rather I would say the people behind the
Mhm.
scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
So since you mentioned that, it's not about showing how smart we are, so, something pops up in my brain,
Mhm.
and it says that, do you think being curious is more important than being smart in science, and why?
Mhm. I don't know. I think being smart is kind of a requirement,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm,
um, I think curiosity is what would decide if people actually use the science or
mm-hmm,
do the science or learn the science. And it's not about what I'm thinking, it's actually
mm-hmm,
empirically showed. So I remember many years ago, there was a paper in Science by Robert Tai, I think, and what he showed, it was, I hope I'm rephrasing it true in a good way. He showed that the predictor of people taking science in undergraduate, in college in
mm-hmm,
the US,
mm-hmm.
was not their performance when they were in junior high, but
Mm-hmm.
their interest when
Wow.
they were in junior high. So of course you have to have some kind of how would you call it, like a minimum level. If you're really
Mm-hmm,
really bad with numbers, I guess there's not, it would be very hard for you in the
mm-hmm,
sciences because
mm-hmm.
this is much of the language.
Yeah.
But beyond a certain minimal level is the curiosity, is the interest that brings you there. And actually I think we also have a very similar, I mean, in a very different context, a similar realization. So we have a paper that looked during the COVID-19
Mm-hmm,
in how people, can they actually understand all the math that goes on
mm-hmm,
newspapers and TV. So if you
mm-hmm,
remember in the beginning of COVID, there was this coefficient R they were talking
mm-hmm,
about, how much people are being infected, and they were
yeah.
talking um, about linear versus other types of logarithmic scales, and not logarithmic, exponential scales. And there were all these and of course percentages. So there was all these quantitative talk in the news suddenly, and we were asking ourselves, can people understand that? I mean,
mm,
and how is that related to what they learned in
mm,
school?
mm,
And
mm,
what we found is, of course, beyond the minimal level that was needed, what explained, what predicted that people actually answered correctly our questions, so they
mhm,
comprehended what's going on in the news,
mhm,
was their identity as math learners. So the way they thought about themselves as math people. And
mhm,
so if someone, and not what they actually had in school. So if I had a lot of math in school, but I think about myself as lousy in math, I feel
mhm,
that it was a dreadful experience. I feel that I have no idea how I passed the test, and it's I don't feel I own it. I feel it was like just lucky. I hate it.
mhm,
Then I would not even try, right? To understand.
mm,
Maybe I can
mm,
understand everything, but I'm not
mm,
even trying. I'm not
mm,
interacting with the content, right?
mm,
So
mm.
I think that's what we show there.
I see. I see. So, I mean, I understand the perception from the student, or as what a student should keep as a mindset to pursue the science ahead. But at the same time, from your experience and teaching and researching about science education, what do you think that helps students understand the science better
Mm.
in day-to-day life?
I would say connections, making connections
Mm-hmm,
to whatever is interest of them. So
mm-hmm,
in my early research, when I just started, I was really interested in the questions that people ask about science, because I
mm-hmm,
felt it's odd that on the one hand we're trying to teach all this stuff or communicate all this stuff, but we ignore the questions that people actually ask. Okay, so uh, actually in my PhD, what I did was to look at the questions that people ask on Ask a Scientist sites, on TV shows, and that kind of stuff, and see how much they're being covered by the curriculum, which they are not to a very large degree. And then we came up with the idea, when I just started at the Technion, of the shadow curriculum. So taking the questions that students in your class actually have and make the connections with the curriculum you have to teach. And it's much easier than you would expect. So people, when you tell them, we're gonna learn about the respiratory system, they're like completely uninterested just from saying that. But if you ask them, what do you want to know about breathing? What do you want to know about the lungs? What do you want to know about that? And they would ask questions. Okay, so someone would ask about, I don't know, lung cancer because his grandfather just was diagnosed. And someone would ask
mm-hmm.
about long COVID. And someone would ask about, I don't know, people have questions, right? And
Yeah.
it's not that hard to connect many of those with the things you have to teach anyway.
Mm.
So we call that the shadow curriculum. And we actually showed that when you do that, people are more interested.
Mm. Makes sense. So I think the human brains also always works, like this. We always want to connect, our present situation with either some lesson from the past or something, some philosophies or something. That's how I think human race also developed ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So coming to the next question on this. So let's say if I am a student and a really undergrad student,
Mm-hmm.
probably first or second year. So what would help to explain the science to friends or family in a better way? And what should be the biggest mistake that I should avoid in general?
So I think what would be helpful is to stop and start thinking from the perspective of the audience. So instead of thinking,
Okay.
okay, I think it's very important to say for yourself, what is my
Mm-hmm.
message?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to achieve in this conversation? Why am I doing it? And then think, okay, about my research, about what I have to say, what would be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to the audience,
Mm-hmm.
what the audience might care about. Because many times we come up with
Mm-hmm.
something to say and we just, say it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
irrelevant to us what if the other side is interested or they might
Mm-hmm.
be interested in another aspect of our research. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was interviewing interviewing someone who was working on nutrition. Okay, he just had a
Mm-hmm.
paper about Mediterranean nutrition. Okay, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to interview him. And I asked, okay, so he knows all these things about nutrition, and it was
Mm-hmm.
very, very popular that time in Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Paleo and keto diets. Do you know what it is? That people avoid carbohydrates. Never mind, it's a type of diet.
Yeah.
So I asked about that. Do you think it's healthy? It's not healthy? Is it what
Mm-hmm.
your research tells about it, or how is that different from
Mm-hmm.
Mediterranean diet? I tried to make a connection with something that people were talking about, and he got really mad. He said, "It's not my research. I don't have anything to say about this. It's actually very bad. I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
people to, you know, don't get mad. Try to
I
make the
see.
connections to what people actually care about."
Mm-hmm.
You were asking what mistakes to avoid. I would say avoid the need to say everything at once.
I see.
People will not understand it anyway. It's too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just tell a little bit, let them ask the question. Say a little
I
bit,
see.
let them ask. And if they're interested, they'll come back.
Absolutely. I completely agree on this that, take take some specific pauses and also give relevant information
Mhm.
only and not just bombard them with everything.
Yep.
I think I have also seen this, sometimes in presentations and conference as well. There are some speakers who want to make a really nice story. They will they will be on time and finish everything so that everybody understands. And there are few presenters who just have data, 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 data on the slides.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's a
then we can
less
understand the
more.
difference there.
Yeah.
So let's say if someone is not much involved in social medias and or doesn't have a specific stage, what could be a one simple way to start science communication in everyday life?
Mm. So I think when we talk about science communication, we tend to have a very narrow understanding of it, as if
Mhm,
it's people with a lot of knowledge talking
mhm,
with other people with less knowledge. But
mhm,
it's only one way to think about it, right? So when we
mhm,
think about science communication, there's this dissemination of knowledge, but
mhm,
there's many other things as well. So there's having a dialogue or listening. Maybe you have a
mhm,
research that has some connection or may
mhm,
implications on
mhm,
the society, like
mhm,
of course in the social sciences that happens a lot,
mhm,
but also in environmental sciences, in
mhm,
chemistry sometimes, right? So of course in the health sciences. So one way would be to engage with the public, with the relevant groups, and listen,
mhm,
to them.
mhm. I see.
First of all, they will be thrilled, right, that someone
Mhm,
is listening, and you would get many interesting insights, even if the
mhm,
insights are troubling. Maybe the insight you will get is that people think that what I'm doing is awful, right? But it's
mhm,
important to know, right?
mhm,
So listen to people, and just talk to them about what's troubling them. So
mhm,
engagement rather than telling people what you want.
mhm,
Also, there's the option of involving the public in your research,
mhm,
so public
mhm,
participation, like citizen science. Of course, it's not relevant to everything, maybe not to lab work, but it is relevant to anything that has to do with monitoring, biodiversity, and
mhm,
monitoring environmental issues and others. And you can, in a way, invite maybe locals from the area you're studying, or class,
mhm,
classes of students, if it's relevant, to work
mhm,
with you on your research. And even if everything you want to do is just dissemination, which is of course
mhm,
fine. I mean, maybe interact with the PR of your university. Maybe your university has a blog or have a podcast or have a
mhm,
platform, so you don't have to restart everything. Maybe you can
mhm,
use existing platforms. Maybe there's a Facebook group. I don't know if Facebook is strong
mhm,
in this age group, right? but you can find a group or a platform that already delivers or communicate science, and they can put your stuff there.
Mm.
I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. Like, use
Mm.
resources that are already around you.
Mm-hmm. So adapt to what is available and start a journey, I would say.
Yeah, work with people who already did some of the work. They will be happy probably for the content.
I see. I see. So, since you mentioned about engagement, especially,
Mhm,
so, sometimes many students, they struggle of speaking on the stage, especially going out.
mhm,
So, for the students who don't see themselves as good speakers, can
mhm.
science communication still be for them? And how can they improve
Yeah.
in
Uh,
this?
so, two answers to this important question. First of all, of course, it is for them because you don't have to speak. You can write.
Mm.
You can do many
Mhm.
things, right?
Yeah,
You can
of
answer
course.
questions. You don't have to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Many ways to communicate. You can make videos. Write the script, and
Yeah,
uh,
that's
no need.
fantastic.
But if you want to improve your speaking, actually, I
Mm-hmm.
have two ideas. Well, first of all, I have a science communication course on edX,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
free and open to all, and I invite everyone who are interested in science communication to register. Again, it's free,
Mm-hmm.
and join the journey. Watch whatever videos they are interested in. Do the tasks, and of course it's a muscle. You can, if
Mm-hmm.
you train, you become better, just like any other muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing we have is called the Jargonizer, and
Mm-hmm.
from the name you might understand that it is aimed at scientists who want to find out if they're using jargon, like words that are too professional that people might not know. And it would tell you these words are too professional, and would suggest maybe what to do about them. So I invite everybody. Also, it's free online. It's called the
Mm-hmm.
Jargonizer.
Mm-hmm.
Very much invited to take part and train.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We would share around the links to the course. You can send us to us.
Great.
So, uh, you know, to now the people who are already in STEM and working in the field.
Mhm.
So, what would be your one advice to first year degree students starting their journey in science?
Um, I would say don't be afraid to change.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I know it's like it also have economical applications, right? Because if you
Mm-hmm.
change, maybe you need to pay for another year. I don't know. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just taking the economical side aside because not everybody can change. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I changed my direction, and it was an excellent choice for me. So I went into university wanting to study biology.
Mm-hmm.
Actually finished my degree in biology, right? I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted a career as a biologist. Oh dear, just a minute.
No problem.
Sorry about that. My
No
husband left
problem.
his phone in the
Oh.
working room.
Not a
Uh,
very good start to the morning.
no. Okay, so uh, anyway, don't be afraid to change because you have a long career, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not good to be stuck in something it is not really for you. So I
Mm-hmm.
changed from, I mean, after my first degree, I
Mm-hmm.
changed from biology to science education.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned that there is something called science communication. There wasn't science communication in Israel at the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
went to study science communication abroad and brought it to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy I did. So if you can, don't be afraid to change. Learning is never a waste of time. I'm using everything I learned, and I'm really happy that I didn't get stuck in something that I wasn't that sure about. We can't know
Mm-hmm.
everything when we just, at the age of 20,
Mm-hmm.
learn stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my advice.
One should be open to explore.
Yeah, be open to explore and be open to the idea that maybe your initial choice was not the best for you. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay
Mm-hmm.
to change.
I think this is gonna be a tagline for this podcast when we post this back. Be open to change. I think that's a really cool idea. So we would really love to, interview you once again and know more about the science communication and also your journey. But for the today's event, we stick to the, science communication and its purpose. So maybe you can shortly present your slides
Yeah, sure.
today.
I would love that.
Absolutely.
So let me know if you see them.
Mm-hmm.
If you see my beautiful research group.
Yes, absolutely. Now we see that. Okay,
Oh,
over to you.
sorry, what?
Over to you.
Over to you.
State
Okay, so this is my research group, just in case that, well, you might not know what science communication research is about. So I'll just give you a few examples of what we do today. So, for example, this is Shaked down there, and she's asking what is the quality of science information available online in different languages? Because, of course, we know that people look for information in their own language, and we wanted to know, okay, if you look for the same thing in different languages, what would be the quality? So are you disadvantaged when you're searching in certain languages? So we gathered people speaking 21 languages, and we looked at the information available online for all these languages, using the same terms, the same coding scheme, same quality criteria. So that's a project I'm very proud of. This is Inbal. Inbal wants to know if generative AI support informed public engagement and evidence-based decision making. So basically what she did was to ask people all these performance tasks. So for example, she says, your good friend wants to go on a diet of juice diet, detox diet, that you only drink juice, and she asks you, is it effective, is it safe? And then we let people use Google versus use AI to find the answer, and give recommendations, and we look at the ways people evaluate the information. Are they using the same evaluation ways? Are they being persuaded by the AI? What kind of evidence do they use, and so forth? This is Yael. She asks, do people who know more science make better science-related decisions? And you might think it's a straightforward answer, but it's really not. So we are using all these real-world scienarios, for example, about basketball fans who need to decide, make all these science-based versus wanting to win type of decisions. So we look at the tension, what happens when their science says one thing and your commitment to your group, to sending kids to school, whatever, tells you something else. How people navigate it, and does having a science background helps. We have other research group members. So this is Yuval, for example. He's a physicist who is turning these days into science education researcher. He asks what interventions attract new audiences to study science. So there's all these educational interventions, and many times they are just being evaluated, pre-post. So do more students register? But he wants to look at it more generally, to have like proper control groups and look at the national level and see what interventions actually work what interventions actually bring new audiences into studying science. This is Elad. He wants to know if AI can teach scientists to listen. So not just to craft their message better, but also to be dialogical and listen to the other side. So we use the AI as a conversation partner to do that. It's really exciting, and we're doing a major data collection next week. This is Yael, another Yael, and she asks, how can scientists better communicate with decision makers? She's especially interested in environmental issues. So looking at how the scientists can learn to communicate more effectively with the decision makers and with the practitioners. And this is Jordana Portman, and she asks how to design images to influence knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors of people, especially in relation to environmental issues. And this is me, and I'm really interested in how to support scientists in communicating science more effectively. And these are two of the tools that I already told you about. This is the Jargonizer that I invite everyone to use. Over 250,000 people use it in the last 10 years, and it helps you check if your communication includes jargon that people might not know. And we also have other different ways to prepare yourself and train yourself automatically on this website. And I invite everybody also to the science communication course on edX to discover how to turn their science into news stories and entertainment. And it's made of many, many, many conversations, like the one you had, like 15 minutes conversations with many, many different people in the world, scientists and science communication researchers and practitioners that all tell about what they know about science communication and give their ideas of how to do it better. So everybody is most welcome.
Fantastic. So I really love the way how you presented the slides. They were, I think this is how a real science communicator should be, or everyone should really, take courses on science communication to be super crisp and engaging and deliver what the audience wants, especially the connect.
Thank you so much. It would be, do you have this saying? We have this saying in Hebrew, I guess it's also in English, the shoemaker is going barefoot. Like if someone it's his job, but he doesn't doesn't do it for itself. So I hope that in my case, the science communicator actually knows how to communicate.
Absolutely. I think you are one of the really good examples today. So we have some audience questions as well, and I would like to pick and choose a few that we think that would really make sense. So the question is, so Astrobe is asking a question that science communication is very intuitive at the beginning, but to improve and incorporate the Scicomm research, especially the dialogue model, or if there is much more in need, that is challenging right now. Do you have any recommendations for the next level?
Very good question. So I think it's really true that there's these levels, right? So in actually in the research with Bruce Lewenstein, we called it really we looked at the threshold concepts in a way that people need to move in order to improve themselves and their communication. So really maybe the lowest level, but most important, right? The foundational, not lowest, foundational level is that of audience perspective. So that's what I was trying to iterate all through our conversation, right? So not only think about my message, but also think about take the perspective of the audience. And then after you do that, you also want to understand the deficit model versus a more dialogical model. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the deficit model is this idea that if people don't agree with me, it's because they
Mm-hmm.
don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's true. Sometimes people just don't know, and if you tell them, they would know. But sometimes it doesn't have to do with knowledge, right? So people in, I don't know, in Europe that were really against genetically modified foods, it's
Yes.
true that they didn't know what plasmid was and all that, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not the reason that they were
Mm-hmm.
against genetically modified foods. They were against it
Mm-hmm.
because they were
Mm-hmm.
afraid for their livelihood. Maybe they were farmers. They thought it was unnatural. They thought it's, the progress is too fast. They had all these reasons that didn't have anything to do with knowledge. So I think the second threshold concept is to understand that it's not all about knowledge. Some of it is about other things. And we should listen in order to understand what the problem is. Maybe the problem is not what we think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see it with vaccines, you see it with climate change, that we try to give more and more knowledge, but it's not about the knowledge, right? And then I think another threshold concept is understanding that we also have values. Science is not value free. We have our own
Mm-hmm.
values of, for
Mm-hmm.
example, believing in progress. And maybe other people don't share these values. Maybe they think
Mm-hmm.
progress is not good. Maybe they want things to stay as they are, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you should understand that it's also about trust. So if they trust you, then you can talk about it. Maybe understand their values, bring your values, and find out what they don't know, and make a decision together. It doesn't work all the time, but it works better than if they don't trust you, right?
Absolutely. I would agree on this.
So I would say to your friend who asked the question that on the practical side, do use these resources, and we'll have very soon
Mm-hmm.
a simulator for
Mm-hmm.
dialogue on the
Mm-hmm.
Jargonizer site and so forth. But it's not
Mm-hmm.
only about the practice. It's about understanding, like changing the mindset
Mm-hmm.
into understanding that it's not only the knowledge that you have to
Mm-hmm.
listen.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. I hope he got his answer. So the second question I would like to pick is again that some media, such as text or videos, have an intrinsic bias for one-way conversation, that is deficit model.
Mhm.
Any recommendations to take that to more effective model?
I don't understand the question. So is it about how we should change the media, or should we do something else?
Probably. Probably the effective model to communicate the science. I think
Mm,
there cannot be one, right? There would be
yeah,
multiple models, whichever work upon the engagements with the audience.
yeah, yeah.
Or
I don't think it's bad to have
mm-hmm,
dissemination. Uh,
mm-hmm,
so first of all, let's make a difference between dissemination and deficit.
mm-hmm,
Dissemination is this idea that I have knowledge and I want to share it with you, and I
mm-hmm,
want to do it in an organized, clear, attractive, funny
mm-hmm,
way. Okay,
mm-hmm,
that's good. I
mm-hmm,
don't think it's bad. There's nothing bad about it.
mm-hmm,
I'm all for it, and much of science communication is like that, and that's
mm-hmm,
okay. What we
mm-hmm.
want to avoid is really this idea that if you don't agree with me, I'll just give you more knowledge and it will be fine. Or if you don't agree with me, it's because either you didn't understand or you're
Mm-hmm,
ignorant. So basically, you're ignorant or stupid. That's not a
mm-hmm,
good way to look at things. So
mm-hmm,
if the question was about that, about this mindset that if
mm-hmm,
they don't
mm-hmm,
understand, they're stupid,
mm-hmm,
I think the only way to, change people's minds is very slowly to repeat,
mm-hmm,
to repeat the other option, to repeat the alternative.
mm-hmm.
Share data. I mean, sometimes it is about knowledge, right? Share
Yeah.
data showing that people that actually know more about, I don't know, vaccines or genetically modified foods are sometimes the
Mm-hmm,
people who are
mm-hmm,
against it. So,
mm-hmm,
talk about it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see. I see. I get it. I get what you explain over here. I hope that Astro got his answer to the question. So then I think we can end our today's session here. Really, really short and effective, I would say, rather a beginner's guide to science communication, and how a student can actually, communicate science in normal day-to-day life as well, and what things to keep in mind while doing that. So I think I really loved today's podcast. And would you like to say something to our audience?
Just thank you so much for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any question. If you are welcome to email me, and
Absolutely.
I can communicate. I can engage.
So I think we would really love to host you once again for the upcoming podcast, and maybe we will dive deeper in your research journey and how you made this as a career and being a global voice.
I would love that.
So a heartfelt thank you to you, Professor, for sharing your insights and journey with us today. It was really inspiring and also engaging for all of us. Especially thanks to our audience for joining today. We had approximately 100 participants registering to the event, and thank you so much for engaging and asking thoughtful questions as well. So the feedback form link is in the chat box. Please fill out the feedback form link. It actually helps us to improve, and also you would receive your e-certificates through that. And also, last but not the least, a big shout out to our team for always being behind the scenes, making effort, and that made this session possible today. So, thank you so much to everyone.